So this is a drawing of the spine. It's from the side, so you're looking sideways at it, so we can see the curves that I'll talk about later. The spine is made up of vertebrae, which are discs of bone, which I'll also show you a bit later as well. This bit is just about the sections of them. So right now I'm doing the cervical section, which has 7 vertebrae stacked together. The cervical vertebrae are what make up the neck. The neck section underneath the cervical vertebra is the thoracic vertebrae, and these have 12 different vertebrae that are stacked on top of each other to make up this section. I've also just added some little points about the spine that I'll go into when I talk about the vertebra. The next section of the spine is the lumbar region, and this is the lower back. You might have heard of it before. There are 5 vertebrae in the lumbar region. One good way to remember the different numbers of vertebrae in each of these sections is by thinking of meal times. 7 a.m. for breakfast, so there's 7 in the cervical. 12 noon for lunch, so 12 in the thoracic. And 5 p.m. for dinner, so there's 5 in the lumbar region. Underneath all of these regions is the sacrum. The sacrum articulates between the pelvis and the vertical column, joins them both together kinda. And just under that is the coccyx. So both of these are fused vertebrae. The sacrum has 5 fused vertebrae and the coccyx has 4. So 2 of the curvatures of the spines. The first one is called kyphosis, and that is a hunchback, or you could call it dorsally exaggerated thoracic curvature. The other is lordosis, or a sway back, and it's an accentuated lumbar curvature. One vertebra looks like this. The posterior side is the pointy bit, and the anterior side, which is the front, is the round circle. So on the sides here, which is coloured in purple, is what we call the transverse process, which is one of the sites where muscles will attach. The other pointed bone at the top of the arch is called the spinous process, and it's also a site where muscles attach. The big round circle thing in the anterior side is just called the body, and on top of this, or underneath it as well, is where the intervertebral discs will sit. In between the vertebral arch and the body of the vertebra, there's a hole, which is called the vertebral foramen, and this is where the spinal cord, blood vessels, and other nerves and stuff go through. Imagine you could put your finger through the vertebral foramen and then close it around the outside, and like the circle is now, and this is called the laminae, and it's just the fusion of the 2 bones. And this is another one called the pedicles, which joins the vertebral arch and the body. Alright, so now we're looking at the vertebrae from the side view. You can see the spinous process kind of sticking out on the left there. And just these little kind of squares between the 2 vertebrae are the intervertebral discs. So I'm just going to colour in the disc here blue. There's also one on the top, as you can see. So the discs are cushion-like pads that stop the bones from rubbing against each other. And lastly, going through some muscles, we're looking at the spine from a posterior view, and I've also added in some ribs and the pelvis. There are 3 muscles that make up the erector spinae. The first one is this one, which is called the longissimus. It begins in the lumbar section of the spine and ends in the cervical or thoracic section. It connects to the transverse processes, so goes along the side of the spine. The next one is the iliocostalis. This one begins in the iliac crest of the pelvis, and it runs all the way up along the side of the back, connects to some of the ribs along the way, and ends at the cervical vertebra, so right up into the neck. And the last of this trio is the spinalis. This goes right up the middle. It connects to the upper lumbar region and finishes right up in the cervical vertebra. and it connects to the spinoous process, so straight up the middle. So a quick recap, the erector spinae is made up of 3 muscles, the spinoous, which goes straight up the middle, the longissimus, which is just near the outside, and then the iliocostalis, which is right on the end. And the erector spinae is the prime mover for back extension. Hope this one was helpful. Happy studying, guys!